So, Scott, how many quarts does it take to get a gallon?
Well, I think for Zach it's high quality, never crude, always refined, and when you pull up to the pitching pump, a gallon is always premium. So he's exactly a rotation fit, no doubt.
How vital is his free agency right now? I mean, could you characterize how busy you are with that?
The pitching market is really something that's pivotal to outcomes for many teams, and I think they feel that way. It's very aggressive. There are obviously new expectations that occurred in this market with the early signings, and that usually takes an adjustment period. So you see when you have like Emmy, you have a 27-year-old pitcher who throws 98, 99, teams look at that and say, that believe me, in my wildest dreams, I never expected someone to be available like that. So there's a lot of opportunity. A Suarez who is just has had postseason excellence of 1.4 ERA, slow heartbeat, big markets, having that kind of experience and having that. So in the postseason, when you add a Suarez, I think everyone knows you're armed and dangerous without a doubt.
How was it possible that Gallen was getting married and taking a physical at the same time Saturday?
Well, we were in Mexico, so I'm not sure what physicals were being taken, but I do know that it rained for the first time there in 8 years, so it was a pretty rare event, no doubt.
Scott, the Giants have an awful lot of needs. They have 2 openings in the rotation. They need an outfielder, potentially second base, closer. Do you see any of your guys as a possible fit for the Giants?
Well, when you look at clubs that were distanced from the Dodgers the year before, and you have to look at and say that the Dodgers had at least 2 or 3 starters that were not available to them for well over half the season. So you have to believe that that team will be even better. So status quo, when you're well behind, is something that really needs to be evaluated if you're going to be in the hunt with them. So I think that in the case of most of these clubs, there probably are about 8 to 10 premium players that can really make a difference. They can give them an ad that they didn't have before, and I'm sure that they're all actively pursuing.
Do you have any concerns at all that the CBA expiring at the end of the coming season is impacting the market for anybody?
Historically, we've had major signings, the year before a CBA. The ebbs and flows of talent are what's important to teams. Bargaining agreements figure themselves out, and the conditional element, and unfortunately, they don't let us put clauses in contracts that players get paid when, there is a disruption of performance in the CBA. So owners are protected from that. So I don't think it wildly inhibits their actions.
Scott, where's the Bregman market right now?
I think everyone is aware that Bregman is something special and different other than his performance. He's you're talking one of the few regular everyday players that has 8 consecutive postseason appearances. So, in October it's Alex in Wonderland, and it's a regularly scheduled event, no doubt.
What's the plan for Pete Alonso here, Scott?
Pete lives in Tampa. It's rather warm there. So the polar vortex of last year is kind of thawed. So, the prior market, this market is, that prior bear market is exhausted. So now we kind of have the running of the bulls in Tamplusa.
What do you hope to accomplish with him here, Scott?
You have to be kind of European to know that. It's Susan. What was that?
What do you hope to accomplish here with him coming to meet with these teams?
Well, I think this is something where Pete's really a true free agent. Right-handed power is a commodity. Guy can play on the dirt is a commodity. And all the teams we met with, not one doesn't want Pete to play first base. I think because of his digs and what he does. There's a lot said about his defense, but we're learning it's very positive because they don't have many first basemen that can play every day in the field and carry the offensive thrust of it.
Does he have a meeting with the Mets today, Scott? Does Pete have a meeting with the Mets today?
Yeah, I mean, we've been meeting with a lot of teams during the course of the offseason, and that will continue.
You're showing a willingness to talk to you seriously about extensions for some of your guys, Gunnar, Jackson among them.
That's really something that we probably talk during the arbitration period or during spring training. So, Mike and I have a lot of conversations on the subject, but there's nothing immediate.
You have a lot of good players that could fit in with the Chicago Cubs. Would you characterize your conversations with them as fluid and all-encompassing?
Yeah, Jed and I have had multiple meetings this offseason. We continue to talk. So I think, look, all the clubs that were really close and in the playoffs last year are certainly realize they need to do more because we've got a dynamic ongoing in this game where we got a Goliath. They understand that. And that Goliath can get even better without really adding much. So they know that they have to do more to be ready for a real push to the World Series.
Scott, you mentioned the Orioles a minute ago with the extensions, but with your free agent clients, have you noticed that they've been more aggressive this year than in prior years with them?
You gauge that by the notice of how they and their ownership respond to the offer exchanges that occur, and that varies in every market. And I know that Mike has every intention to add players to his team, and he's been in regular communication with us about that.
Scott, where are your talks with Cody Bellinger?
Belly is, he's. It's not for me to judge, but great players see red if they lose that they have a big bat yanked out of their lineup. I haven't met a team that dodges a five-tool player. To fill the center field need is a giant step towards the playoffs. North and south, outfielders that fly with power, they're rare birds. In the off season, there's a lot of startup to organizations. And for that reason, there's a lot of angel investors that are looking for very versatile outfielders. So other than that, Belly doesn't have much interest.
It sounds like given that wide market, do you anticipate this will happen quickly or is it going to take more time?
I can never predict markets because when owners get involved, they can do things in a moment's notice. And with these type of players, you expect that. And it's happened before, and we expect it could happen again.
Scott, Red Sox have been open about their need for some impact power bats. Bregman obviously last year. What have your conversations been? You've got a few guys that obviously fit that description.
Yeah, we've had discussions that range for 6-7 players, and Boston's and their ownership has made it clear to us that they want to add and improve beyond what their roster was last year. Again, they're aware that the American League East is a very different dynamic in 26 than it was in 25, because there's a lot of clubs that are already better and improved, and they fully expect additions from many others in the division.
Bregman was such a good fit there last year. By all accounts, he enjoyed his time. Was there an early effort to try to make that happen, or is it just a case now to see where it goes?
Well, I don't know what early is. In the meetings and throughout this, they've been in touch, and and the dialogue continues.
Scott, is Eli planning to visit cities of potential suitors after the meeting?
We've got to really kind of narrow the interest. Once we've done that, he may visit some cities.
No stops planned.
What's that?
No stops planned.
No.
Scott, Tarik Skubal, are we at a point with Skubal where maybe no more talks on extension? It's either going to be they keep him or they trade him for 26?
Skubal is metrically dominant both in advanced and traditional measures. I mean, he's truly a saber-proof tiger. When if you want to look at the tail of the tiger, without Scoobs, they're a mystery machine.
If they're going to keep them for 26, they need to go all in to try to win with him then?
Well, that's not my decision to make, but certainly I think they've identified that a Skubal start is a very important event for the Tigers, no doubt.
Even though you are able to get Cease a great contract at the beginning, a lot of people are predicting the free agent market that will take a long time to develop. Do you see that?
Free agent markets are like the weather. It takes just one event to spur 4 or 5 events. So it's truly an unpredictable element. So one thing we know is that when there's a Goliath in the market that has truly something you have to point at, owners have to really meet a standard that's different, because they can't just say getting into the postseason gives me a chance to win. They have to say that I've got to meet a standard where I know that someone with depth, with 4 or 5 great players, that I've got to not only make an attempt to build a roster to seriously contend for a World Series. It's just not about sneaking into the playoffs. Anthony is working out with his physical therapist. We've heard a lot of rumors, but when you're in the position, a player has a year to go in his contract, and he intends to execute it, work out, get ready, and that's kind of where we're at now.
What's your thoughts on a casino coming to Queens?
What was that?
What's your thoughts on a casino coming to Queens?
Well, I don't know. I think when we look at it, you can say that baseball and the bordering ancillary arms of what sport brings to the linkage of gaming and fans and attention. We've seen a lot of growth in it. It is revenue streams that are, frankly, well beyond. So I would say the bet is that franchise values are going way up because of it. What was that? With who? No, I don't think when Cash or Randy call me, they talk about limiting payroll. No, they don't. They talk about acquiring players, but they've never made mention of that. And you know, and I go back to what they did with Soto last year. You know, Hal and Randy and Cash did everything they could possibly do to pursue a great talent. So I have no reason that they wouldn't approach this market any different than that. What was that? Well, we keep those things private, but the Yankees have reached out about Cody, and we continue to talk.
Is Pete Alonso meeting with the Orioles today, and do you think he's a fit in Baltimore?
We've been meeting with a lot of teams, and I'm not going to give specifics on it, but you can expect that a lot of teams want to spend time with Pete.
There's a report right now that Schwarber is going to re-sign with Philadelphia. How does that impact the market for you and your players?
Well, you know, we have a 33-year-old star-level player signing, and I hope he does well. He's certainly deserving, and I would imagine that there'll be a new platform for DH valuations going forward in the game, because he certainly earned it.
Scott, what have you made of the Pirates reporting willingness to spend money this offseason?
No, we've been, and the Pirates have reached out to us on a number of players. They've made it very aware that they're going to be active in the free agent market, and they intend to add free agent talent to their roster.
Is this something you see as a one-year thing, or is this a change of the times in your opinion?
Well, I would say it's the right step. I certainly don't want to limit them for future years, but it's something that it's good to see a few of the clubs that we don't normally hear from in free agency be active in it. Anything else, fellas? Ladies? Well, the numbers illustrate that Pete hits really well there, sees the ball well, and you know, big man in small quarters. You know, it's nice to be the redwood tree in the forest, I guess. You know.
Scott, is there a point with Skubal where any talks that would have to happen like before spring training or before the season? Is there a point where you cut off any idea?
You know, we've always been a listener. You know, it's always been our attitude. That's up to Tarik as to how he wants to handle that, and I have not discussed anything like that with him. But certainly at this point, my instructions are to listen anything that they have to say.
Scott, the Rockies had this front office sort of regime change this offseason. Have you noticed, or do you feel like they'll be maybe more active than they have in the past in this offseason?
Well, for those of us who've been in baseball a while, their voices we've heard many times before. So we're very familiar with them, and I imagine they were hired to put together a new plan. You know, we have a great young player, franchise player there, in Ethan Holiday, and I'm sure they're going to construct a future around him.